Okay, with the A&P crisis, the shortage of A&Ps, it's time to get the hands oily and greasy. We're going to do an owner-assisted annual. Step one on the annual is, well, have a clean engine. Efinger's been teaching me that. The engine will tell you if something's wrong by the way there may be gas leaks or exhaust leaks or whatever, and that can tell you. But if your engine's not clean, then you can't tell. And also, by apparently the A&P rule book, you've got to clean the engine at annual. Second step is to do a compression check on a hot engine. John likes to do the compression checks while the engine's hot. So I've just flown the plane here, so that's why the very first thing on the annual, other than clean the engine or clean the plane, is to do the compression check. That's what we're gonna do right now.
You know, it's a hot prop as far as you're concerned right now.
Okay.
So you're gonna keep the distance from it, and you'll stay over on this side at all times of the propeller. And then hold the gauges where I could read them. Sometimes that leaks low, but hold it here so it doesn't leak.
Hold it
over
where?
Here. We're going to adjust this momentarily here.
All right, I'll get it. There we go.
So you want to kind of hold it there. And this is where you see a lot of fluctuation with people in different readings. So that should stay the same. We're at 66, a little over. Not a big surprise, Continental, even though the hours aren't there. So 65. And what we're looking for is 3 consistent readings. You know, if it changes every time you do it, then you're not getting a good reading.
And what are the, what's good, bad, and ugly on the readings for Continental?
So we're at 64 on this one.
Okay, 64.
So to check it for calibration, well, first of all,
okay,
here's the master orifice. So your weakest cylinder could literally be 22, 24, 25 psi.
Okay.
If it's above 25, it literally would pass.
Oh, really?
We know that we have a problem at that point. And then to check the calibration on your gauge, you go 80 and 80. And, you know, we're spot on there. These have been calibrated pretty recently.
Okay.
Now for your reading, we bring it up to 80 and it should be 64. And it's 64. Okay. And then we'll hold it back there. So that's number 4.
So 64 is normal, acceptable?
4 is okay. We're just taking you through. I'm looking for pressure. That's why I'm leaning over your plane like this. You know which cylinder is the high one. So here we go again.
What does this mean? Just because you have a bad compression, does it automatically mean you've got to replace the cylinder?
Well, when it's this bad, when that noise stops, we'll find out where it's coming from. And the intake valve looks good. So, horoscope's looking pretty good. Let's figure out what's going on here. Oh, there's a lot of heat on the intake valve. Intake valve is just, and there's a gap under it. Okay, so the intake valve is just not seating at all, but it's not in there. So what we got is we got a lot of exhaust deposit on it at high temperature. Just be that.
So all might not be lost?
Possibly.
It
may be that we're just going to check to see if maybe some carbon got on the bottom of the valve seat. before you brought it in,
And the valve is sticking or something?
and the valve may be sticking. So we're gonna look at that. If the valve is burnt, it would be all colors of the rainbow.
And it's just white hot, is what you're saying.
Well, the white though is because it's bypassing all the exhaust around it.
Which is another reason why
This little piece of your baffle came off on a particular screw.
is this another reason why you would do a compressor check hot? Would this have shown up on a cold engine?
Yes, it could have certainly got a higher reading if we'd have done it cold. It would have still been very weak, as bad as this is, but it would have definitely been higher. So the next step, we're going to hope to stake the valve and just see if there's carbon. The very odd part about this is I didn't really hear a heavy intake leak. I know we had aircraft out there running up and making noise, but still, I would have expected to hear that more so. So, and then we're going to see if it jumps up there. Look at that.
Goes way up.
Yep. So this is where I said there's some carbon.
So it's not the cylinders bad, it's the valve sticking.
Okay.
All right, good. So it doesn't require
Here,
a top
I
overhaul.
gotta get you to.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So John, what does this mean? So the stuck valve is just a clean job? We had to clean the carbon or something?
No. Well, we may have a issue still, and by staking the valve, if there was some carbon underneath it, it could do exactly what it did there. And staking the valve just kind of cleared that seat. The question is, why did the intake valve not seat properly? Like with the bore scope, we were able to see there was a lot of white powder. So when you're at a low idle, like your taxi coming in here, that's when the valve wasn't seating. So my suspicion is that we have possible two issues. We could have a intake guide that's hanging up and it's not closing properly, with like a carbon buildup around your guides. There could be a bad guide, which I'm not really confident that would be the problem. And then the other would be we just picked up a flake when you're idling right there. So now we got to decide, do we want to investigate this further? Do we want to disassemble the valve train, pull the valve through, feel the valve, or you want to just run the engine and try it again and see if it was simply just a carbon flake out underneath there, and which is a probability, a possibility.
So
and just see if that cleared it out on its own.
So it's very similar to a Magneto check when you have a problem and you try to blow out the carbon deposit in the spark plug. Is the same thing here with the valve.
Yeah,
basically.
I guess you could say that. And the fact that it was white tells me it's a very recent occurrence. The fact that the valve itself hasn't burned any, like I said, there should be the rainbow colors and a heat signature on the valve face. We didn't have any of that, so it's not something that's been ongoing.
So that's why you think it's
just
something
happened.
This
is something new, and it could have just been you leaned on the ground and gave it a couple bursts, and a piece of carbon got underneath the valve seat, and just the little time that you taxied here showed up.
Okay.
You've got to train a new mechanic, when they come in out of A&P school. And a lot of times they just don't realize it's just simple tasks, just putting in interior, installing spark plugs, doing brakes, wheel bearings. You have to walk them through every single step of that process. And it takes about a year, to train a new mechanic. generally, so you could cut them loose on their own. So if you've got an owner that comes in your facility and they want to work on their airplane, you know, and they don't even have an A&P. I had one customer from California. He's been through 20 annuals, 19 annuals on his airplane. It started out, we'd give him little detail things like paint the little spokes on the hubcaps, you know, cleaning the belly, you know, what can I do? And he'd polish the spinners and wash the airplane, wax the airplane, things like that. And even that, it only progressed over the years. And now he comes in 20 years later and he'll help pull panels. He knows where all the parts go. He knows where the bins are. A whole nother scenario.
So in another 19 years, I'll do better.
Yeah, I only do that with, you know, there's only one owner that does that now. But he stays here for the week during his annual, and he's done this for 19 years. And that's a different situation than, you know, than a guy that just comes in and goes, well, I want to do an owner assist. Oh, you need to find another place that, you know, that'll do an owner assist then, because that's not the norm. And there's people that are pushing that today as being the norm, and that's just simply not true. When you have a guy that is doing an owner assist, I mean, you know, I've been working on this plane for 20 years probably now. That's a little different, and you know, we're just gonna work it out so you could be involved in this one, because
well, it makes me a better pilot.
It makes you a better pilot, and there were issues, you know, with your last annual. Since I'm retiring, I wasn't gonna do it, but as a result, we had a lot of catch-up stuff that we had to do.
Well,
that's real bad.
Well, not only that. So what happens is
a plug that wasn't lubricated.
Oh. The issue,
as I was saying, there's issues as a result that we've wound up with by having somebody else, you know, take over.
By me not knowing anything about how the engine works and everything else, by not knowing anything, I can't really see anything that's bad at annual or anything else from other shops. And so, by getting involved, I learn what's good and what's bad.
Completely dry spark plug, completely dry. And this is why we're doing an owner assist this year. Since I was still doing oil changes and kind of caretaking of the engine, you know, engine never got cleaned last year. You know, obviously they had the spark plugs out, so everything was put in dry. The plug leads were over torqued, and that's just simply doing the spark plug removal to do the compression check. So we're just going to do it this year just to catch up on the things that got missed last time and bring it back to where it was before. I mean, this is the second engine I put in this airplane over the years, so.
Okay, so working on the plane, and I just have to say, Efinger just gave me a compliment. He said, wow, you really got the plane clean, didn't you? That's pretty big praise from Efinger, so I'll take it.
Okay, wait a minute, what'd you say, John?
I said the belly is fairly clean.
Yeah, so that's something. I'll take it.
But you still got to clean, you know, the wings, subfloors, the gear wells.
But that's all part of the annual anyway. But I brought it to you with a clean belly.
A clean belly. Your belly was clean.
Okay, so the first day of actually really getting into it, we, did the compression test. So now day 2 is opening it up, and so I've got to go through all the access panels, pull them off, and all that kind of stuff.
We're going to open it all up. Again, use caution with the screws. Okay. These two we could keep closed. Nothing there. These two we could keep closed.
Okay.
And then basically from right here, so the back of the doorpost, boarded doorpost.
All 3 of these?
All those, and then come all the way forward. We're going to pull the kick panels. You'll probably need to get with me on that. There's a split line here, and we got to bring this down. We got to,
okay, yeah, that's going to be.
And then we got to pull that panel loose, so that's kind of intricate. You might get me on that.
Okay, I'll get you on that. Rob, who owns a pressurized 210 that's in the shop here, a good guy, flies for American. He's come by. We've gone flying before. It's great to have Rob around. Okay, I wonder where my friend Rob went. Rob, where's Rob? Oh, what in the world? Is this how we do annuals?
This is how we do annuals. It's a beautiful thing. I'm trying to stay out of probation.
So what is this?
What is what?
What is all this?
Oh, this is all the bins that we put parts, screws, and whatnots, and separating it out so we know how to put it back.
Because you cannot put a number 8 screw in the same bin as the number 10.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Otherwise you get on probation.
On probation.
And you have to be sent out to nowhere.
Just a word of mouth, we're all on probation.
I just wish John would let Chewy come by, but he's not. John's a little too much of a clean freak to have a mess like Chewy here. Oh, you know, I went out through the hangar door, so I didn't wipe off my feet. Sorry, I'll make sure I do that. So what are you looking for when you start an annual here with this kind of inspection?
Anything, everything. You know, right now we're just basically isolating the wing group, and I'm looking for anything out of place. You check your bell crank here, and you know, of course we're looking for stop contact there, stop contact there, you know, positive contact, you know, everything. You know, I've shot this with Corrosion X for years, and you can see it's already got Corrosion X drip low point right here, and the bell crank's plenty lubed. All the bottom of the bolts have a drop of Corrosion X on them, so you know, really we don't even have to Corrosion X it and spray it again because it's already good. Okay. The only thing we would want to maybe do is you know, it's gotten dry for fogging, so we could always fog it again.
What's fogging?
With the Corrosion X spray.
Okay.
So just a corrosion preventative.
It's kind of like a bug bomb?
Yeah, essentially. And I haven't done that for a while on it.
Okay.
So, you know, we might think about, I don't see any new corrosion buildup in it, you know, so, you know, that's a good sign. But I am a little concerned about those connections. Now there's fuel staining here, so we got a leak up here, and here's your fuel sanding unit leaking. And you can see up in here if you come look here. Okay.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So that's all fuel staining, and most likely it's because, and I hate these gaskets, these are the rubber gaskets that they use, and that's exactly why I don't like them. You can't get a real good torque, and you get too much squeeze from over torquing them like they did, because they got Allen head cap screws on there. So, you know, that's all fresh fuel on there, so that's leaking. I think they squawked it and said they replaced them because the center stud had a little wicking going on, which that's been a carryover for 12 years or more. Not ever where you actually had residue, but you would always see a little blue up in here. But now it's, you know, that's a fuel leak now. See that you got the brace here, okay? That's your strut brace, top and bottom. Okay, now look below it. See how thick your main spar is. I don't know if you can see that panel or not.
Yeah, the silver panel with looks like a drip pan?
No, right above the bottom skin there.
Uh-huh.
It's like 3/8 of an inch thick.
Okay.
Nice machined steel.
Okay.
Okay, that's your lower spar. That gives you an idea just how thick this spar is on the 210.
Okay, so I've been spending a couple of days cleaning the subfloors. And what John tells me is that a lot of planes, and he showed me one that he has in that he hasn't ever worked on, just dirty subfloors, and the a lot can happen. You can have, even just with ours, we fished out a screw down there, several popped rivet heads. All that stuff can get jammed up into pulleys. You got to get in there and clean. Learning a whole bunch about even the rigging of the airplane by going in and cleaning all this stuff. Finding leaks. We've got an actuator for the gear that's leaking a little bit. Because he keeps it clean, he can see the leaks. So just learning how important it is to keep things clean. Annual continues. Been cleaning, getting up in the wings, cleaning all the dust and dirt that might have been in there, and cleaning the floorboards inside the plane. So keep working. One of the things I really like that Efinger does is this form. It's at the front of the manual. And when I got my last annual, Efinger couldn't do it, so I went somewhere else. And I thought everybody did this form, but they don't. I don't know how many times I've come in to see what the model number of something is, and status and everything else, the times. So this having this sheet at the front of the book has been really helpful. List of squawks and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, you did get the new BLT installed.
Correct.
We need to check the tire pressures while it's on
I
jacks.
thought about that. While on jacks. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go do that right now.
All right, let's do this.
So what I do here, see that black?
Yeah.
So that's purging out the dirty grease out of the bearing itself. I already wiped it off with a clean towel. And now, when I purge it, that gets rid of any of the real dirty stuff, and now I'm just gonna take the grease. Clean grease is all that's gonna wind up on it now. You could also, if it's really nasty, or if it's got a different type of grease on there and you want to remove it, then you'll wipe it down like I did and then put it in the clean solvent tank.
There's so much that I've been learning as an owner working on the annual, but one thing I want to point out as a great example is that working on this landing gear actuator that had a small leak. Well, how can I tell if there's a small leak? Well, as I was putting the hose back on, I took the cap off. I get hydraulic fluid everywhere, and I get that twisted back on so it stops leaking. And then I look underneath the plane and I've got a big puddle of hydraulic because there's a small little hole right there that will leak the hydraulic fluid so that you can tell. And just having worked on it, now I understand it a lot better. Of course, on the pre-flight, you walk around, you go, okay, if you see red fluid down there, you've got a hydraulic leak. But now I kind of know exactly what's going on, the actuator, or whatever. So it's really helpful to get in here and actually do it.
Now this, you should be checking anyway.
Oh, that's right. We talked about that.
And your fluid is okay.
With all the leakage and everything else, huh?
Uh-huh. God, I forgot about that. So you want to look in here at your brake line clearance, right here.
Okay. That's a brake
Both
line. I was
sides.
wondering. Okay.
And you want to look to make sure it's not rubbing anywhere. You don't see any holes. And it is locked. You push up.
Another day, some more work. We're going to try to finish up the landing gear, get the plane down off the jacks, close it up and everything else. Look, I got dirty hands from yesterday. I could not get them clean. So that's what I guess an AMP deals with all the time. Let's go to work. One thing I'm always really scared to do is actually touch John's tools, but I've got to return this, so I'm going to sneak it in there. Got away with it this time. Now I am.
Okay, so we're going to look at all this playing here, and this is something to always look at. Now, the reason you say, why are we doing this? Look at the bottom of the yoke here, control tube. In any place that there's metal to metal, it's going to wear your control yoke out, and if it damages the control yoke, now we've got an airworthiness issue. So let's take it apart. All right. All right, here's where we're going to find all metal to metal on the bearings. I don't know if you can see that or not here, but see all the metal to metal on the bearings. There's a little bit of rubber on that one, and that one's got a little bit of rubber on it.
Which one doesn't?
Well, they all are missing, but this one's complete metal to metal right here. And so that's where all your play is coming from. See how loose this nut is in here?
Yeah.
These are eccentric cams built into this bearing. If you look at that, so you could see how it's adjustable, and that's why we have had. That's why it was so loose on this particular one here. Now these are overhauled, and I get these from Rob Air at a fraction of the cost of the Cessna part.
Okay.
So there's the adjustment on the new plate. There's all three bearings, and are barely making contact here. And I think this will be good right here. We'll try it. Nothing's in a preload. We'll check it. Midpoint, same thing. We'll check it all the way forward. And here, all the play's gone. I don't have any up and down. Okay. So that's got a nice light contact. Okay.
The annual is progressing. We're closing things up. That's always a good sign. We're pretty much finished with the airframe. Now we're going to move to the power plant.
Well, now what I'm trying to do is get a hold of the valve. I need to get another tool out. There it is.
That's the roughness we're feeling is at the top there where you see that
where
carbon.
It's shiny right now?
Yeah.
That wide face, there's a little ring in there yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Now pull back out a little. Not so much. I just go.
Okay.
Keep coming. Keep coming. Well, you're now rotated around. I want to see if we got if we got it clean. A little more. Pull back a little more. Do the same thing. Slowly. I want to see if there's any buildup anywhere. Okay.
We're still not getting the compressions we wanted on that one cylinder. We cleaned out the intake valve, but maybe it's the exhaust valve. So we're having to now reset up and clean the exhaust valve. Okay, we're coming close to the end of the annual, and got a business trip on Wednesday. So we're here on a Sunday. John's very gracious to open up to let me come in and finish the annual so that I can get on the business trip. So we have had one issue from the very beginning, that one cylinder had low compressions. We went in, we staked the valve, got the compressions up, but we're still gonna take another closer look at that once we do an engine run and get it hot. So it's something we're gonna keep an eye on. So what is this doing?
I'm on a compression stroke on number 1. I put the pin in here, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'll bring it around until I hit that pin. But
so you've got a pin into number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, and so now the top of it hits it.
And all we're trying to do is find 0, top dead center is what we're looking for. Okay?
What number are we looking for?
Well, we're hitting the pin, we're going opposite direction, we're hitting the pin, we're splitting the difference. That's just numbers.
Okay.
Okay? When you split the difference, now top dead center is going to be right the split point of the two numbers that we got there.
Oh, okay. I think I understand.
I don't know if I explained it. So now what I'll do is I'll back it up, okay? And right at top dead center, we'll hear the Magnetos snap.
Okay.
And we should be right at top dead center on the crankshaft. So I'm coming around. Okay. So where you hear it snap now, it should snap right at top dead center.
There it is.
Okay. Now we're going to go back before top dead center, the lights come on. Okay. And then if you look at your data tag here, see where it says 22 degrees? Now, at 22 degrees, before top dead center, the light should go off.
Put 24?
Which is too bad because they popped off. So the timing is advanced. I mean, it should never shift 2 degrees.
We're seeing a 2-degree shift on the timing. With the data plate has at 22, we're seeing 24. So John's checking that. We're checked the logbooks to see if somebody had set it to 24. Previously, a lot of engines are 24, but the data plate here is 22. So you have to check that. Now, running a 24 instead of 22 on my timing difference means I was running hotter. So by fixing this, maybe I get a couple of degrees cooler. Timing check part of an annual?
Yes.
So what could have happened is the last place did the annual, they saw 22 and went, oh, it's got to be 24, and didn't check the data plate is one possibility. Because seeing a 2-degree jump is rare.
2 degrees in a short amount of time is not normal. That would almost indicate that there was worn points, something going on with the Magneto.
Okay, so looking at the last annual report, there's only 3 things on the engine annual.
Okay, and?
So there's nothing about the timing.
Okay. So something else that might have influenced this, a lot of the new guys, new AMPs now, they're using these electronic, instead of the flower pot here, it's got a level in an electronic level.
Okay.
And you've seen me before with the rigging, and you know how I've asked you to walk around or hold the level or keep the level warm?
Right.
Because it'll fluctuate on the electronic levels. So if they just turn the electronic level on, by the time they take their first reading and the time they take their second reading, there's a good chance that it's going to be off a degree or 2. So that's why something mechanical like the flower pot, it's been tried and true. You know, I've been using it for 50 years. That's pretty straightforward. The argument is, oh, well, it's so much more accurate using electronic level. Well, I've used an electronic level, and I tried that for a while when it first came out. And what I found was I'll do the flower pot, and I'll get my reading, and it's well within half a degree, on the tolerance. And then I used the electronic level, and I was getting different numbers, and using the 2 of them, and I'd go back and I'd recheck it like we did now, just to double check, because it should never change by 2 degrees in the course of 100 hours. So that's why we went back and verified that we were centered up and we had the correct top dead center. So, there's give and takes, and I don't really, for me, I've found that the tried and true mechanical flower pot is more accurate than the electronic level, because you don't have that error of electronic level, temperature sensitive, having to be warmed up, and it has to be stabilized, and then you have to walk around with it for a while and keep it active, because they don't get active for about several minutes, and temperature is sensitive as well. So that could be why we got the error.
How would I know if I have a problem when I'm flying, if there's a timing issue? Hotter temperatures,
Well, you'll see
cooler temperatures.
You'll see cooler CHTs and higher EGTs, or higher CHTs and lower EGTs.
Okay.
It depends if it's advanced or retarded, you know.
Right. And
So with using your engine monitor, you know what temperatures you should be running, and you know what power settings. So right after annual, all of a sudden you got your CHTs are really high and your EGTs are really low, or just the opposite. You know, more than likely it's a result of the mag timing whenever you did your 100-hour annual inspection.
will the engine run differently? Can I tell mechanically?
No, but you'll see it on an engine monitor.
Okay.
You know, you'd have to be really far out for it to, you know, actually make a difference on the operation. It's only an engine monitor that you'll see it.
Okay. Okay, engine's all done. Let's close her up. We're gonna take her on out. Okay, so we got in to do our first flight, and I was gonna fly over to Hicks, and I had no right brake. So John's down there right now trying to figure out why we have no right brake. So this could be a problem. During the annual inspection, we did a wheel and brake inspection, and there were no anomalies. However, when we rolled it out for the post-maintenance flight, one of the brakes was a bit spongy. So we decided to roll it back in. John is going to back bleed the brake, make sure there's no air in it, and then we'll go roll it back out and do our post-maintenance flight.
2 hours later.
Flight complete. We do need to adjust the right brake a little bit. John Efinger says it's not going to be a big deal. It feels so good to be back in the air again. Annual is complete. Woo!